So, before we get into the technical demo, I think it's important to really just explain what commonly comes up in conversation with our customers, because I think that will really help, first of all, set the scene for the rest of our conversation today, but also demonstrate the reality of what the opportunity is here at Sumo Logic. So, by way of introduction, really what we hear the most from our end users very much centers around the fact that today's security and cloud ops teams are very much drowning in fragmented data. Now, this results in visibility gaps and slow incident response for our customers. Teams are very much dealing with large volumes of logs and alerts, and this is made much worse by increasingly sophisticated threats and outages that traditional approaches just can't keep up with. And this is where Sumo Logic comes in. We very much empower your customers to transform massive amounts of data into actionable insights. And this is really the driving force behind what we do. It's how we help you win, and it's how we help your customers win too, more importantly. Oh, let's go back one. Apologies. So as I promised, I really just want to take a step back and look at the opportunity in the market today because it's bigger and more relevant than ever. Firstly, this is a market that's in serious growth mode. I think the SIEM market is expected to reach 13.5 billion just over the next few years. Now, this is driven by increasing cyber threats, regulatory pressure, and the continued shift to cloud and hybrid environments. Now, this really isn't a stagnant space. It's expanding and it's expanding fast. Secondly, despite what you might have heard, SIEM isn't dead. It's very much evolving. It's still there, it's still relevant. Now, for years, people have talked about replacing SIEM with newer technologies like XDR or data lakes, for example. But the reality is SIEM remains the core of the security operations center. And what's changing is how it's delivered. What we're seeing and what the demand is becoming more about is the demand is around tools and solutions being modern, cloud native, much more intelligent, and more importantly, delivered through a trusted MSSP or similar. And finally, the problem isn't getting any easier, it's getting much harder. Now, attackers are more sophisticated, and AI is very much assisting with this. Data volumes are exploding, and organizations are dealing with increasingly damaging ransomware and cyber attacks. On top of that, the average cost of a data breach is now almost 4.5 million. So the stakes are incredibly high for our customers. But what does that actually mean for you as a partner? It means that there's a massive opportunity to help our customers modernize their security operations. They're actively looking for partners who can help them handle scale, reduce complexity, and deliver faster, more actionable insights. And that's exactly where modern platforms like Sumo Logic come in. We help you land strategic deals, drive service revenue, and build long-term customer relationships. You'll hear more from me a little bit later on, but for now, I'd like to hand you over to the star of the show, Greg Osborne, who's here to show you around the platform a little bit and just to really show off what it can do.
Thanks, Cass, but definitely not the star of the show. That's you guys, right? Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to speak to you. My colleague Eric was going to do the session in case you'd saw his name on the registration form, but he's had a medical emergency, so he's dealing with that. So I've stepped in to hopefully show you some things today. I thought I would take you through a little bit of an introduction to what Sumo is and sort of how it works on the platform, and then we'll dive into the exciting security insight side of things. So just give me 2 seconds here, and I will bring up my screen. Cool. And Cass or Christoph, can I just check you can see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you very much. So when you first log into Sumo Logic, this is what you see. This is the landing page here. Sumo Logic is a log aggregation platform, essentially. We can ingest logs, metrics, and traces. And those logs can be in the form of structured, semi-structured, or unstructured. And all of our data comes in through collectors. And we've got three types of collectors that you can leverage. So depending on your customers and how their environment might be set up, we will be able to bring in logs from just about any source. Just as a side note, I have got customers where Windows 95 are even sending logs through to the Sumo platform. So just to give you a feel for how far back we can go, but also how far forward we can go as well. So logs come through as either a hosted collector. So that's something that Sumo Logic looks after, manages, and makes sure is working. We can collect from install collectors. So we've got a Java-based application that can be installed onto, in fact, let me just click on this for you. We've got Java-based versions for all of those different endpoint device types. And then lastly, we have an open telemetry collection capability as well. So if you have customers or you are using open telemetry yourselves, and this is what you want to stay standardized on, open standards, of course, then we can do that too. So we're very flexible in terms of how we bring the data into the platform. And then the idea of our solution is to make it as easy as possible for you to get insights and knowledge from those potentially millions and millions of log messages that will be coming through from all the different sources. So what I wanted to just show you very quickly is that once you've started to bring your log data in, and I was just going to use Okta as my example for this one. So this is just a demo environment, and we have a bunch of log sources that come through in here. You give your sources a relevant naming convention with some metadata associated to it so that you can then easily find it. When you set that up, like I've just typed in for Okta, so we have this source category of lab/Okta, it means that when I go and run some queries or I ask a dashboard to load up something, that's what it's going to look at. And we tag every single log message that comes through this collector with that metadata in there. So again, it's easy to find. So once you've got your data coming through, which is usually a very simple, very straightforward kind of process, the next thing is what you do with it. So like a lot of solutions like this, kind of the log aggregation platforms, we have a query language, and you can then run a query to pull out some information and start to sort of see what the logs are coming in as. For us, as simple as, and to be honest, this is even slightly more complicated than the most simple way. The most simple way is you could just put any keyword in here. Our ingest and parse pipeline makes every single word, every single IP address, domain name, anything like that in those log messages searchable and indexable. But for this example, I've literally just I've looked for the source category for labs Okta, and that gives me the results here. And you can see last 15 minutes when I ran this just before this started, I had 95 results. So it's not a super chatty log source, but it's got something coming through. And then what I want to show you is that you can quite easily parse out things from those log messages, but in real time as well. So at this point, I'm not relying on an ingest parse to have stripped things out to create the new fields for me. I've just created this kind of on the fly. So we now have this new field in here that becomes searchable and usable in our query. And this is all good, but we probably want to understand a little bit more about what's happening with these logs. So to do that, you start to do aggregation, right? We want to sum something, we want to count something, we want to do something with this information that gives us some results so that we can start to then understand what logs are coming through and then what they're actually telling us. So in this case, I've literally just done a count by the actor from the log messages to give you an idea as to what you can do with this. And the results it gives you, it's a table format, but I can easily change that, right? So we've got graphical options, and I can click around and I can literally just sort of change this as we go through. That's no problem at all. So relatively straightforward, but you have to know a little bit of query language to be able to do this. So to make that even easier for you, because we don't want you to have a hard life, it's hard enough in other places. So we want this to be as simple and easy as possible for you. We have an AI capability in the platform. We call it Mobot. Mobot is our agentic AI interface to the rest of the platform. Currently, it has there are two released agents. So we have, if I just click over here, let's just do a new window. We have the query agent, which allows you to type in sort of natural language what it is that you want to do. What do you want to get out of these log sources? And I'll show you the example I have in a second. But all of that without you having to know underscore source category equals or count by or anything like that. And then the other one is the knowledge agent, which has it's a copy of all of our online documentation, some of our internal Confluence help pages, stuff that our support team have done over the years and things like that. The idea being that if you need to get some support, obviously, we will all be there to support you, but you can self-service as well. So you can come in here and you can ask it to help you with, I don't know, how to create a dashboard or something like that. So I did this example again, literally just now, because I wanted to make sure obviously it was working for us when we did this one. And I asked it, can you give me an overview of Okta activity? So similar, right? Staying on lines with the Okta source that we looked at just now. It's auto detected the source that we're going to be using. So in this case, it said it's going to be underscore source equals star Okta, and you can do wildcards in all of these queries to do pattern matching and things like that. Obviously, regex is all supported as well, or source underscore source equals Okta. And then it's translated it into what it thinks it wants me to, sorry, what I've asked it to show it. And it's saying provide a high level overview of Okta activity logs. It's written this query for me. Again, very simple example, I know, but the principle is the same, whether it's a complicated ask that you have or something quite simple like this. Now, unable to retrieve query results is just because I did it a little bit further ago. If I just hit enter to rerun that one, you can see we get the exact kind of same view that we had from that previous query that I typed out, but I didn't have to know any language, any query language in order to do this. So this is a way to help sort of simplify it for you, for your customers, to be able to leverage the platform. And then to go one step further, we then have the app catalog. So the app catalog for us, similar to the Play Store, the App Store, right, for your phones, where you've got access to content, to material that Sumo has built. We then make available through the platform. And this is something that is always being actively developed as well. So in here, you can see in this instance, so in our demo environment, we've got 337 apps that are installed. You can get a bit of a view, right? If I just scroll through here, some of the things, lots and lots of Amazon. So we're cloud native, built on Amazon, but we ingest from any source. So it's not just Amazon. If you've got GCP, if you've got Azure, in terms of your cloud services, we can ingest all of that. Like I said back at the beginning, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, it doesn't matter where it comes from. But it gives you a bit of a view to sort of what these app catalogs look like, or the app catalog looks like. And if I stick with Okta for the moment, so we can see that the Okta app is installed. When you install this as the administrator, it all goes into one folder. So you have this installed apps folder under your library, and then all of our things that are installed go under there. You only install it once. Everybody's got access to it. If you've given them the RBAC controls to be able to see that log source of data in the app. So there's a very granular capability for RBAC and control in here, which means that you can limit sort of what people are seeing and how they see it and things like that. But if I click on the Okta tab panel for this one, just to give you an idea. So what gets included in this Okta installation, we've got all these dashboards here. So what we've got there, 6 dashboards, 3, 4, 5, 6 dashboards that we have, again, we've pre-built for you. And then we've also got a save search. So within Sumo, you've got the ability to run searches on a scheduled cycle, which means that if you're looking for something in particular coming through for the log messages, then you can have this search running all the time in the background. Again, you can change the frequency with which it runs. You can also do monitoring as well. So if you've got particular things coming through on logs that you need to be alerted about, we have monitoring to do that. And then we can fire alerts through webhook integrations. We can fire playbooks. So I'll talk in a second about automations and things like that, because you have access to that as well in here. And you may find as well in some of the other applications, there will be monitors, there will be other save searches in there, just all content that we think that is useful and relevant, hopefully, to enhancing the usage of Sumo and getting the value from it quickly. But if I just click on one of those dashboards, just to give us a bit of a view. So this is an idea of something that will come out of the box and already done. The only thing you have to do is to get that Okta source or whichever source into the platform and connect it to this app. So when you install the app, you'll tell it where the source of data is coming from. Once you've done those two things, these dashboards light up and you start to get those insights instantly. So hopefully very quick time to value with that one. And you'd be also able to take these dashboards and you could turn them into reports for customers as well. All of the content that we have as well, all these dashboards, you can take them and you can understand what the underneath the query actually is. So if I just click on this one as an example, we can see this is the query that has been pre-built for this particular panel to give us that visualization. So you start to understand a little bit more about how the platform is working underneath as well. So yeah, this is sort of all out of the box content. I don't know how many apps there are. I think we're at over 500 apps now, something like that. So lots of availability for you to just sort of be up and running quite quick. If there are apps or integrations in other parts of the platform, which we'll talk about in a second, that aren't there that you want to see, just let us know and we will put that feature request in. Our dev team is always looking for the next thing to build against, what's important for the folks using Sumo Logic. So with all that said, at this point, we've brought our logs into the platform, we've been able to query it a little bit, and then we've got some visualizations on it. But what we actually want to see now really is sort of some of the security side, right? So I'm gonna dive into the SIEM. For those eagle-eyed amongst you, you'll see that I'm using two different environments at the moment. I've jumped to this one because it's got our SOC AI agent in there, which is in beta at the moment. But I wanted you to see this so that you can get a feel for what the next step in security investigations is going to be for Sumo. So very quickly, this is our SIEM solution. We have all the logs that come through that we just looked through before in the collection page. So in our instance, we had the Okta ones. Those logs get normalized against each other so that we can compare Okta with Microsoft, with AWS, with Cloudflare, and we can start to link these logs together in what we call entity correlation. So for us, the entity in the platform is the most important thing. That's what we start to look at in terms of security. So over here, you'll see, hopefully that's not too small. There's an active entities kind of list here. It's just literally the top 5 entities. And you'll see they're all domain names, or sorry, they're all usernames. But in here, it could be an IP address, it could be emails, it could be domains, it could be hashes, almost anything, right, can become an entity. But what we do is we take all the logs that come through, we normalize those logs, and we turn them into records. So that's this section up here. Records are the key element that the SIEM works off of in terms of how it's going to do its very cool entity correlation stuff in a second. Off of those records, we then run rule sets against them. So like most SIEM solutions, there's a number of rules that we provide out of the box. There's just over 1,000, I think, at the moment, which will automatically start to match against the logs that you send through to the SIEM. When we get a match on those rules against the records, we generate a signal. And the signal is based around that entity that I just talked about. So that in this case, we've got these usernames down here, Olivia Davis as an example. And as more and more logs come through with that entity in there, and we get more matches against different rule sets and things like that, that entity, its score, the severity score, gets aggregated over a period of time. Typically, it's over 2 weeks. And over a score of 12, I think, something like that, is where we would then pop an insight. And an insight is what is going to help to reduce the noise for the guys that do all the SOC analysis and the threat investigation. Instead of looking at, in this case, again, this is a very small demo environment, but we've got 1,000 signals from the last 3 days. Even 1,000 signals to investigate is a lot of effort. But by restricting that down and to the insights of that correlated severity scoring, it means that our SOC team only has to look at 3 things, because those are the 3 things that are very likely impactful to the business, as opposed to a lot of this is likely to be noise. So I just wanted to show you very quick the rule sets that fire against the records. So these are the rules that we have out of the box. And like I say, there's about 1,000 of them or so, and they are of 6 different types. So one of 6 different types. I won't go through all of these. And in fact, let me just make that any bigger at all. No, my screen won't zoom in. Hopefully, you've got some good zoom function on your side of it as well. But we've got match, threshold, chain, aggregation, outlier, and first seen rule sets. Most important, or sorry, probably most common, not most important, is the match one. So if X equals Y, then I want you to raise a signal against that particular entity. So they're the ones that you'll probably see most often happening. The next three, the threshold, chain, and aggregation, are kind of variations on that one, bringing different match rules together, or putting in thresholds where something has to go over or below in order for a signal to generate. But the last two, I just wanted to take an extra sort of 10 seconds on to go through, because these are our AI based rule sets that we've got in the platform. So you'll hear me, like most places, right, in the world, we'll be talking AI at the moment. You'll hear me talk about AI quite a lot. The outlier rule learns a baseline for a particular entity or for the entity. So the SIEM platform tracks all of those entities. So everything that I talked through about IP addresses and host names and emails, etc., it tracks the baseline for all of those entities for the particular rules that you build. Which means that if my username normally logs in at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, and I do exactly that, we're not gonna raise a signal for it. But if my username doesn't log in at 2 a.m. on a Sunday, and that happens, that's going to pop a signal for us, because that's outside of my normal pattern of behavior and something that's got to be sort of looked into. That on its own is not a an indication of compromise or anything like that, because it could well be that I'm working really hard, or I realized I've got to do some stuff before Monday morning at 9 o'clock, and I need to get that done 2 o'clock on a Sunday. But if I do that, and then maybe the first scene rule, I don't normally do some AWS privileged escalation type activity. Maybe I then do that, and this rule then connects to that with my entity. And we start to get this pattern, and my entity score starts to go up until the point, obviously, that becomes an insight, and then that's what we fire into the platform. So speaking of insights, this is the result from those rules connecting to the records that we have normalized, generating signals, and then over a period of time, however long that might be, we get an insight that gets raised. Just very quick on this page. Actually, can I just check, Cass and Christoph, am I okay for time at the moment?
Yeah, I think you're fine for
Yep.
time.
Okay,
It's good,
cool.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So just 30 seconds or so on this table, just to give you a bit of a view for it. So this table natively just shows us the insights that aren't closed. Just like any SIM solution, you can take your insight and you can put them into an active phase. You can assign them, right? So in this case, Michelle has been assigned to this particular insight. Um, Anything that's unassigned means that probably the SOC team needs to take a look into it. So we can do all of that good stuff. You can add history notes and things like that as well. So as you do your investigation, you can work through that, and you can add your information you find through the investigation. But the kind of the cool stuff that's happening at the moment. So this AI verdict, this is in this version. So this is part of that beta that I was just talking about. Um, the AI capability underneath is going to give us a verdict as to whether it is something that I don't need to worry about because it's benign, or actually no, this has been tagged as malicious. So that's probably going to be my prioritization in terms of doing my investigation. I also have, or we also have, this global confidence score as well. So aggregated across all of Sumo Logic's customers with this particular type of insight, with how the insight typically gets closed out, gives us a view as to whether or not something like this is going to be a genuine thing, or if it's quite a low confidence score, possibly not something we need to worry about immediately. Obviously, if we have a malicious AI verdict, we've got a high global confidence score, we can be fairly certain this is something we need to pay attention to. And then we've got the entity, obviously, in terms of which entity the insights fired against. We've got the number of signals that it's created. Obviously, demo environment slightly different because it all says 8 in here, but real world you probably wouldn't have 8 across the board. Yeah, there might be two really high severity signals that got generated that created the insight. Others you might have 12 or 13 because they're all really low ones, and then you have a mix in between them. And then last of all, we've got our the age of the insight as well. So if I click anywhere on this line, it gives us a little pop-out box. So we start to, well, still seeing kind of all the other insights, and we can, keep this view up. I've got a little bit of information about what's going on with this insight here. And I just wanted to kind of draw your attention to this severity impact and this what happened piece, because this is all AI based capability in here. Right now, so if you're using Sumo publicly today, you will have this what happened, but it won't have the enhancements with the entities that you see in there. So we've got like Andrew Maxwell in this piece. We've got this threat URL. We've actually got the MITRE. So the tactics and techniques mapping from MITRE all get connected into this as well. All of this has been added in. This function hopefully will go into GA in the next few months or so, something like that. And if anybody wants to have a play with it, we've got ways to be able to do that. And then, like I said, we've got the AI severity scoring as well. So at the moment, it's set this as high. But if, as we read through all of the information, all the findings and things like that, we can change that, right? So it's not fixed to what the AI has set it to be. And then I'm just going to go into the insight in a little bit more detail. So if you click on the insight, we get to see a little bit more about this. And if I expand this one out, so this is our AI investigation tab. This is the new function that's coming through here. We've got that same information that we just saw on the page. Normally, we would also have, and again, please bear in mind this is beta at the moment, but normally we will have recommended actions. So what are the next steps? So hopefully by the AI summary, it's given investigators a really strong start with what's gone on. They haven't had to go through every single signal, identify which entities, which IP addresses have been compromised potentially, where an attacker might be coming from. In this case, it's coming from China. And then it will be telling us, what do we do next? So what's our playbook? What's the next thing that we need to do? Do we need to get in touch with Andrew Maxwell and find out if he's doing these things or if this is not him? And I mentioned earlier about the automation service. So within the platform, you've got access again. There's no extra cost to any of this. You've got access to the automation playbook service, which means that you can build playbooks in the platform that you can then execute against insights being generated. And in this case, actually, if I just click on this, we'll see what this one is. So we've got automations tab here will tell us what automations actually have run already against this particular insight. So in this case, the playbook was create a Slack insight alert, so MCP type stuff. We have an MCP server as well. So any of you that are playing with AI in your environment and you would like to connect it into Sumo Logic to be able to ask queries or use some of the other skill sets and things like that in Sumo, we can facilitate that as well. So in this case, this playbook has it's leveraged Slack. It's created a message into the channel. And then obviously there's been some notification on the Slack side. So in this instance, that's the only thing that's happened to it. But we can run enrichment playbooks. So if you will need to do a reach out to VirusTotal or some other type of enrichment thing, you need to do a lookup on a domain, that kind of thing. But you can then also take containment actions as well. So in this case, we've got an IP address that's coming through, I think. So we've got this successful login from 125.118.246.104, which is actually in China. And if we know that's not one of ours, maybe one of the next steps to do is to push a new rule set out to the firewall and block that IP address. So that's something that we can do through the automation service as well, without you having to log into the firewall, or more likely, you'd have to raise a ticket and then get another team to do that. We can have that process automated for you. And speaking about tickets, manually creating tickets can be time consuming, so you can automate that process as well. So raising Jira tickets and things like that. And then lastly, I will just very quickly show you the entities tab in here, because again, don't want to be taking up too much of everybody's time. But this graph view, and we can change this to list view as well, but this shows us all the other entities in our environment that this particular entity has been connected to. So at the moment, we're centered around Andrew Maxwell, and we can see all the other things that he's been doing. But I wanted to just call your attention to this here. So we've got this icon with a little thumbprint. So in the platform, you get access to two premium threat feeds, one from CrowdStrike and one from Intel 471. Both of those threat feeds are updated daily. And in the SIEM, there are a whole number of rules that are already pre-built. Again, you don't need to do any of this stuff, which will connect entities coming through. So like this IP address that we've got here, the 125 IP address, it will do a lookup through the IOC feeds. And if there's a match, then obviously it's going to create a signal. And we can use that in our analysis as well. So that's the other thing that you get with Sumo is access to two very good threat feeds. If you have your own threat feeds, you can bring them in as well. So very likely you'll probably have your own curated versions that maybe you sort of pass on to customers as well, or ones that you use in your businesses. You will be able to bring them into the platform and you can use them in exactly the same way that you have with the premium feeds here as well. Okay, so that was a whistle-stop tour for the SIEM and some of the core platform. The last thing I wanted to show you is kind of how do you manage the environment, right? So we've talked through how easy it is, hopefully, how easy it is for you to get the logs in, how to visualize that data, how to get the insights from it, and then how we pivoted into the SIEM solution. And we can take the potentially millions and millions of log messages or records and turning them into just a few insights that make, to Cass's point earlier, know that alert fatigue, that inundation of data that you've got, make that simpler for SOC teams to focus their investigations against. So if you have your customers, it's going to become incredibly easy for you to manage through Sumo as well. So first thing I just wanted to give you is this account overview page. So this gives you a view of your credits. And again, we can talk through credits and what that all means and things like that in another session, if that would be useful. But it shows you how you're using it. But more importantly, you can actually see this for all your child orgs. So we have a multi-tenancy capability where you can spin up your an environment for a customer or a potential customer, and then you can monitor their usage through this. And to create your an environment, it's ever so simple. So you go to organizations and then manage accounts. And from in here, you can see that we've got a bunch of sort of test accounts, but you're literally going to click on add organization. You have the option to do POV trial or an enterprise suite. So enterprise suite is a full blown, it's customer that's paying for your services, or POV, which you can spin up yourselves, gives you 45 days. And in terms of usage, you've got kind of 5 gig of ingest across the board. CSE is our cloud SIEM enterprise. So that's what CSE stands for. So you've got 5 gig in there. And more importantly, you can also pick the region, the AWS region that you want to create this account in. So, if you've got customers in Germany, you probably find they're going to be in Frankfurt based. If you've got customers UK, Ireland, it's going to be Dublin. US customers, you've got US too, and vice versa. We've got those in Asia as well. So you pick your deployment, you give it a name, you give it an email, give it some contact details, you hit save. That's it. That will create that organization. The customer will get a fully enabled Sumo Logic instance that they can then start to log into and leverage for all of their log searching and ingest. And then the other part I just wanted to show you is around how you manage the content. So one of the huge pain points, obviously, for MSSPs and other service providers is, great, I can make that awesome dashboard that you just showed me in Okta and things like that, but how do I now get that to all my customers without me having to manually do that? And that's exactly what this is here. So we have from the parent level, so I'm logged into the parent of this org at the moment, under managed content. I can pick where the content is going to come from. So you can build it in one environment. It doesn't have to be the same environment every time, but I can pick any single one of them. And then I can select what it is I want to then push to the other ones. So in this case, I've got Cloud SIM rules. So you've put your effort and time into creating those rules to do detections that we maybe don't provide out of the box. And you want to push that to your customers, you can literally, I'm just going to tick the whole lot, but I can select all of them and I can push to orgs, and then I can pick who I'm going to send that to. So probably I'm going to send it to all of them, or I can specify and I can then push it. I'm not going to do that right now, but it's ever so simple to do that. The same with rule tuning. So something that we haven't had time to cover yet is that with rules, you can tune those rules as well. We all know that rules can be noisy depending on how they live in your environment and what your environment's like. So you can apply tuning expressions to them to reduce that noise and make them more suitable and relevant for the particular environment that they're in. Same with library content. So all those dashboards that we just saw, the save searches, monitors, everything like that, we can push all of that content out from one org to all the other orgs potentially as well. And then the last thing I just wanted to show you is a little bit around the health of the customer environments. So this gives you an overview for all of the environments that you've got within the instance, and it gives you whether there are any kind of health events that you need to be aware of. So if for like in this one, for example, this training environment one, I've got 3 stopped install collectors. So for me, that's something I need to take action against because the log messages from those collectors aren't coming through, which means we're potentially missing stuff. So it's hopefully an easy way for you to sort of understand the health of customer environments and proactively fix those as well. I think that was everything I wanted to show you. So if it's okay, Cass, I will pass back over to you.
Thank you so much, Greg. Thank you. Let me reshare my screen. Can you see that one okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. So, oh, now that Greg has shown you around the platform and given you a small insight into what it can do, Greg, thank you again for that. I'd just really like to explain why Sumo Logic is a great choice for your customers and to provide some high level detail into what it's like to partner with Sumo. Because it's a topic that, we can delve into much deeper on a one-to-one, but I just want to touch on some high level points today. So for this slide, with our AI-powered platform, partners can unify all of their critical data and automate responses so that you can get ahead of critical issues and threats. Now, just to touch upon a couple of things here, partners choose Sumo Logic. I know Greg had touched upon this in his demo. Partners choose Sumo Logic because we have true multi-tenant architecture. Now, with Sumo, you can manage all of your customers from a single pane of glass. And Sumo enables secure data separation across the child orgs while allowing centralized visibility for the MSP. Now, this makes it easy to onboard, monitor, and report across all your clients without any additional operational overhead. The second point I want to touch on here is rapid deployment. I guess it's to say it is key more than ever. And you can do that with Sumo Logic. Because it's fully SaaS, there's no hardware to manage, there's no scaling headaches, and there's no delays. You can onboard new customers in minutes or hours instead of weeks or days even. And you can really start to deliver value immediately. The final point I want to touch on in the top section is just how cost effective scaling can be with Sumo Logic. You can grow your MSSP business without exponential cost increases because Sumo Logic's flexible pricing and cloud native scalability really lets you align costs with your customer growth. But again, we can talk about that more on in a one-to-one session. But lastly, I just wanted to touch upon a couple of key things I want you to remember about the Sumo Logic platform. The first of which is that we really do know what we're doing. We came or we were the first cloud native SIEM to the market, and this is what we do best. There really are no limits to the volume and complexity of the data we can process. And finally, as Greg displayed in his demo, we have one of the largest app integration catalogs on the market today, with over 450 out of the box, and we're still growing. Now, the final slide today is, and I really hope you've enjoyed what you've heard so far. But there's one last question outstanding, and it really surrounds, what actually is it like to partner with Sumo Logic? So at Sumo, we don't view partnerships as transactional. We see them as an extension of our own team. And what that means in practice is we invest early, we stay engaged, and we focus on building something that's repeatable and profitable together. And that's for now and in the future as well. We're a partner-first organization. I've been here for almost 4 years, and we've been a partner-first organization the whole time. And one of the things that partners have consistently told us is how easy we are to work with. We've built our partner program to be straightforward with clear incentives, transparent deal registration, and fast access to resources when you need them, whether you need us to jump on a call with your customer, whether you need technical support with a particular account, or whether even if it's just something simple like a data sheet for your customers or, competitive intelligence, for example. High margins, flexibility, and total control are just some of the immediate benefits experienced by our service providers and our partners alike. Now, Sumo Logic can work with you to open up new revenue streams or strengthen your existing ones. And if you pair that with our flexible pricing model, it means that you can increase your output and still control the costs associated with this. When your customers have multiple options to choose from, showing your value simply and quickly is extremely crucial. With Sumo Logic, you can run your own POVs on your own terms. And when you've secured the win, you can onboard new customers in a matter of minutes. And Sumo Logic is not only the gold standard for logging, but for partnering too. So why would you consider anything less? That's all from me for now. I'll hand it back over to Christoph for questions and next steps.
Thank you very much,